Sorry about being late there. Hello and welcome to another live stream. I'm trying out a new camera. If it's, and I maybe shouldn't have, because this will put me in Super HD, which is probably not good for this. But just let us know if there's any lag, or if you know, just let us know. I know there's the people who are watching seem to have left, and that's probably because I was late, but I'm going to press on because people do watch these in retrospect. They do watch these predominantly after I've streamed them, and this was a pretty impromptu one, to be honest. I just decided to do it this morning because I'm not going to be able to do one on Wednesday, which is the usual day that I do one. But it also comes off the back of some extensive testing I've been doing with regards to Magento and Pagespeed, and Pagespeed on a mobile, on the mobile tests that Pagespeed does, because I've done a live stream before with regards to desktop, and I've talked about how we can utilise the power of the page builder and you use common sense in the page builder to be able to get like 100 out of 100 in terms of PageSpeed scores for the desktop. But I sort of left out purposefully mobile because, well, it's harder, isn't it? It's harder to get your top scores on a mobile. So, without any further ado, what I'm going to do is, this is part of the setup thing. I was just sorting out what I was like. Right, so I've just been trying different settings and different things to try and get like this up to like optimal. And as you can see, it's sort of sitting on 85 now, and that's because I've just changed some settings around. It's like you almost, and to use a sort of a British expression, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul a lot of the time with regards to the settings that are available within Magento. Obviously, as always, the vast majority, I would go out on a limb now to say 90% of that 90 out of 100 is achievable within the content of your page builder without a dev really having to do any sort of customization to the template. However, if you stick around, I have got a customization that I've been experimenting with. It's probably not ready for production. One that I've been experimenting with, and it is a bit of a hack, but it might actually gain you a couple of points on a mobile. And from the testing that I've done over the last few days, I can't see it being a major issue, in production, like it causes any other issues. It's just something to do with CSS. But anyway, where are we? Where are we with this, right? So I'm going to go through what this is telling us and how we can sort of, I'll tell you what, I'm going to run another one because I think I'd just flushed the cache, and I want to just make sure I'm in production mode as well. I'm just going to run another one now. So I'm running specifically mobile page speed tests, and what it's basically, there's a bottom line with these themes, with these sort of starter themes in Magento, with regards to Lumen, with regards to Blank. Yeah, it's coming up as a bag of shit, and I think I've just changed a setting which I thought would help, and I'll show you which one it was. It's this one here, and I'm always like on the fence of whether to use it, because you would think merging CSS files would be a good thing for page speed. You would think that in terms of render blocking, if that minified and merged file can be loaded all in one, then there's going to be less render blocking resources. And that's the way I understand render blocking resources. There's like resources that are blocking the render of the page, and CSS is like always loaded at the top of the page, obviously, so it's going to block render. So I was thinking, yeah, merge these, and you're going to I've put it in production mode now. I'm gonna unmerge them, and I'm gonna run that again. Let's just have a run of that again. Where's my IDE? Right, I can unmerge them by, I think it's, yeah, it'll be a version of this one here, and I'll just make sure all of these are actually set in production. In production mode, basically, little aside, the developer tab, what you just saw for a second there in my admin, isn't available when you're in production mode. So when you go into advanced, like developer isn't available there, where you set these settings with regards to minification settings and stuff. So in a production environment, you have to use, well, obviously you can change them in the database if you want, but you have to use, the best way to do it is to use these config commands here. So we'll go, I'm sure it's this, merge files, set it to 0, I just sort of keep these as a little it might be merge CSS files. No, I'll try this, and we'll set them to 0. So I'll just literally copy this, bob it in the command line. Dev merge files. Why it can't be merge files for CSS. Bugger. Right, what I'll do is then let's do it properly. Is I'll just set it back to developer mode. Just set it back to developer mode, and that should take a second, and then I should get my menu back. Give that a quick refresh. Obviously it's cleared some caches, so it's taken a little bit longer. And remember, I am testing these page scores locally, so a couple of the things that I'm missing with regards to like gzip caching, varnish caching, those things do actually affect your page speed score, because they affect the time to first byte. I think I mentioned this in a couple of other videos. So they are important once you're in production. So you could probably add on a point for any scores I get in this. You could probably add on a point, and I have had. Here we go. So we get this back. Look, merge files. It's probably merge CSS files, but I'm gonna set that to no, and then I'm going to put this back on production mode, because that then gives me the sort of output. The code most resembles a production environment, doesn't it? And it sort of it looks better to the page speed analysis tool when it runs in this mode. Right, so we'll let that run through. Now, there's some really important things with regards to the page builder that you need to be aware of when saving your content specifically for a mobile. The top things, as always, are always with regards to images. Like, images are such a massive contributor to slow page speed scores, or just there's such a massive contributor to the page speed score for all different reasons. Obviously, the size of the actual images is a big thing, but also the actual tag itself. I touched on it for desktop. If you don't specify the height and width of a tag, height and width of an image on the tag, you actually get marked quite heavily for that in page speed scores. You wouldn't think you would, but you do. And that also happens on a mobile. And Magento natively doesn't have a way of dealing with that. Let's just see if this has gone through yet. It's just starting compilation. It doesn't have a way of dealing with that. So I've got another video. If you look on my channel, it's called customizing the Magento page builder, and basically I've added 2 more tags, and I'll show you them in this stream now. I've added 2 more tags to the image component on the page builder, where you're able to then specify the heights and widths for the desktop image and for the mobile image, and it does make a big difference to your mobile page speed scores. And I can show you the error that comes up actually when you don't do it, and what sort of an impact that has. Once this has gone into production mode, I'll go into the admin. So this is so that was with my merge CSS look, and it just told me to reduce unused CSS, because it's all, and this is, once I've unmerged this becomes clear. But basically, in Magento, the problem CSS file for mobile page speed scores is styles-m. That's the problem one, because of mobile first design, which we all thought was like the sort of pinnacle of web design for the last 10 years, and everything's got to be mobile first. Hey client, we're going to do your site mobile first, and it makes you sound, like on the ball, and makes you sound sort of postmodern. It actually has had a negative effect on page speed scores with regards to Magento, because what we've got is a mobile first design where the vast majority of our CSS is getting served from mobile upwards. So that means that the mobile version is showing of the CSS file, styles-m, contains loads of styles that are just one second, Mitch Capes, and I'll get back to you. Loads of styles what are not required on a mobile. So what we could really do with output by Magento's Luma theme by default, Magento could fix this, is a styles S, which is literally everything just for a mobile. Then we go styles M, and then we go styles L, because styles L isn't an issue at all. And just as well, neither when you run desktop, and you know this because when you run desktop page speed scores, the I've been looking at it on camera for ages. When you run desktop page speed scores, the unused CSS, it just doesn't even get picked up because everything's getting used on a desktop. So it's a real pain in the ass the way they've done it. So the only other alternative is to go through and actually pick out the CSS you want to load on first and sort of hack Magento to not save the mobile CSS straight away, or remove it. And I'm going to show you a way to do that. As I say, it's not production ready yet. What was that comment? So why do you think the merging of CSS files slows the site? Personally, I don't think it slows. Yeah, I don't think it slows the site. I think do page speed score, whatever algorithm's used, it just frowns upon it. And once it's the last thing left, it sort of rates that higher against your scores. Like the more things you fix, the bigger problem the things that are left are, basically. And you see that a lot in a lot of the way, in a lot of the different opportunities it calls it, when they arise. Just 1 second, I'm just gonna refresh this and I'm gonna run another and just see where we're at. So see if we can get it up to at least 90 to talk through it. I mean, these are good scores anyway. I've seen sites with, so we're on 83 at the minute, and total blocking time is becoming an issue, right? So total blocking time is affected. So there we go, the unused CSS issue there, look, the unused CSS issue. I want to make sure my caches are all switched on and ready as well. Now, render blocking is slightly different as well, but it's still, this CSS file, according to the page speed scores, is affecting, like 600 milliseconds is quite a lot, is affecting it. And I don't think there's a great deal you can actually do about that at the moment, apart from sort of build your styles from scratch. But the whole point of using Blank and using Luma is that you've got this base template that you want to sort of make, that you want to sort of utilize, because it speeds up your development. So it's a real, we're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place there, effectively. The other so one thing, so I've got remove unused CSS. So this is for the mobile ones, in it, because I wanted to, let me just run this again, make sure that caches are on. Right. Also, obviously the length of your page and the amount of stuff you've got on your page on mobile does make a big difference, but you haven't really got the controls in the page builder to really affect that too much either. You can hide things, which helps. Yeah, up to 88. So these things have improved. Now, I must admit, you have got to run these a few times when you're working locally, because they are hit and miss. I reckon that I'll keep running them. They are hit and miss, because obviously I'm running this straight off my like local machine, so it's not a server. And as I say, there's no varnish on there, there's no gzipping on there, which are going to give you these extra points. Obviously the point of this stream and this video is to sort of talk through the issue. I've dropped again. It's strange. So anyway, render blocking resources. Look, my style sheet's actually coming up now. So this is the one. This is my custom style sheet. So it would probably serve me well to actually output different style sheets for different viewports, and I can talk through that. So Magento already is doing that. So if we just have a look at the Magento's application, the Magento's CSS here, which is, so these are the styles on coming out on a desktop here. Look, and this style sheet basically doesn't come up in render, or isn't rendered, but it is unused, right, on a mobile. So I think it should be coming up in there, but I think my fix is in there. But I'll talk through what fixes in a second. But anyway, so this, if you've got these type of tags, where did I have it? Just search for that again. If you've got these type of tags, then you're not going to get penalised for the rendering issues. Right, so that's good. So you could do that with your own CSS, because obviously I've made very little in terms of customizations to this site, and my style sheet is in there has been picked up, but like it's minuscule in it, 150. So as that grows, that probably will start to become a bit of an issue in my site. So it probably would be an advantage for me to start off with probably dividing up, like maybe do myself a styles S, styles M, and a styles L, and really sort of divide those up and use that tag on your on when you're saving, because I think that's probably going to minimize the risk of bad scores going forward as your site grows from customizations. But what I'm sort of trying to get my head around and trying to deal with is the default Magento stuff. So anyway, right, one of the things that I thought I could do, let's just pull this back to mobile. I don't know when I run this, I get such different I'm wondering, even because I'm streaming, it's having an issue. It's having an effect on the actual time my machine can load. Because obviously, when I'm not streaming, I'm testing this, I do get massively different scores. But anyway, one of the things I found I was able to do is I was able to. Oh, it's gone up to 85 now. So one of the things I was able to do was to run. Right, let me just check something. So when I'm on a mobile, what I'd done is I'd removed the style sheet. Just have a quick look. Styles L. Yeah, look, my sort of change is still in here. So what? Basically, I'll show you this because it's basically ticking off it. I mean, it's not having much effect on my fucking scores, unfortunately. But if I don't run this, basically, I get the Styles L coming up for mobile, and it's small, but it does make a bit of a difference. And I am obviously as well saving a lot to this page for a mobile as well, so I'm gonna try something else in it. But I'm just gonna show you this first because it's a little bit sort of devy. So all I've done is I've wrote a little extension because I was experimenting, and I was experimenting just removing it on homepage and then removing it site wide. So I've just output a PHTML file to the page, as you sort of saw there. And all I've run, I can't use jQuery, you can't use any sort of libraries because this is running at the head of the page before any of the other libraries kick in. So I'm having to write it in sort of raw JavaScript. So my JavaScript, honestly, this is a bit rum probably, and there's going to be people who JavaScript connoisseurs that are going to look at this and think, what are you doing it like that for? But basically what I'm doing here is I'm looping through all the links, I'm making an array of the links, and then I'm removing the ones I want to remove before the page is sort of loaded. And I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, as Google already detected this. Well, it turns out it hasn't, so it does actually work. So I can remove that style sheet, and I can remove any other style sheet on a mobile that I want to get rid of, and I can do it manually in this. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm just getting from the block the actual file path of the static URL. So that actually does work. If I I'll just see if it has obviously my score at 85. I'm not happy with it, but you can probably gather that it's something to do with my machine running my stream and doing this. I'm just going to flush the cache without that changing there, excuse me, and I'm going to show you it come back, and I'm going to see if it has an effect on the. So obviously flushing the cache always has an effect. If you try and run a page speed score after you flush the cache, you've got no chance. It don't like it. So I'm going to reduce some of this stuff on the page. I'm going to talk through images as well, because I don't know about you, and obviously you can throw in the comments there if you want, but what width of image do you advise your clients to? It's dropped quite significantly. Look, that it's only 12.8 kilobytes, but Google, I know that sorry, that's an embargoed word on this channel, but the self-appointed sheriff of the internet that provides this test for us helpfully really gives you a kick-in for having this here. So that what I've done there is quite useful. It got me 10 points. That's mental. Due to I'm running JavaScript in the header now, that's doing nothing. But and obviously that file doesn't come up in those resources. The other thing I tested was for this image, it kicks off here about having the lazy load tag on the image for something that's always in view, right? Magento puts this here, right? I've tried removing it to see what would happen. You remove it and it kicks off for not having it. Figure that one. right? And your scores get worse. So don't bother with that. Just take that as a hit. It don't make any difference on a desktop either. It just take that as a hit. So that's a weird one. Now the way Magento saves jQuery here is a pain in the ass as well. It's massive jQuery. You can see it here. Look, it's taking 11. Well, I assume it. You know, I'm like saying it's massive. We're talking 11 milliseconds, but these things are all coming. It's saying my JavaScript here, and this is all base JavaScript. I've merged all this JavaScript. I might try unmerging JavaScript in a second, and it's saying 4.5 seconds. I'm wondering if it's having. It's saying 5 milliseconds. Look. It's taking a lot of juice out of my CPU in terms of CPU, but the actual parsing of the script is 5 milliseconds when it's merged. So I would say that's a good thing. So why are these things coming up? These things are really sort of. I'm struggling with them. I'm really struggling with them. Right, excessive DOM size. Obviously, that's down to things like having, you know, the add to cart and stuff. So let's try and remove some stuff. Let's try and do something where we remove some stuff. And there's a class what you can use just straight out of the box. Magento there. Page builder mobile only, or page builder mobile hidden. So it's a really easy one just to use in your page builder. So we'll just real quickly jump into the page builder and see if we can improve things a little bit just using the page builder. I am going to put that back because it seemed to be having a positive effect. By the way, I know I'm concentrating on the home page here, but most people do. Most people do concentrate on the home page when they're doing page speed scores, particularly SEO agencies trying to catch you out and all that type of stuff. So I would always make a start on the home page and work through, because the other pages of Magento, like, they're bang on. Like, you're well in the 90s on a mobile anyway. And I can sort of show that in a bit. But so I would always worry about the home page, and I know I always labour on it, but I would always worry about the home page. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these columns, but I'm not going to get rid of them, like delete them from the page. I'm just going to hide them and see if it makes a difference. Not saving them, you know, not actually loading them to the page, or displaying them is probably the best word on the page. Right. Let's just save that up. Sure, there you go. Yep, so I'm just saving all these daft images now. I know they're all the same, but it's just for testing purposes. Right, so now I haven't got all of that nested HTML showing on the page. Let's see if Lighthouse likes it or does not like it. Right, so we've jumped right back up. Yeah, removing unused. So I think it's something down to my speed, the speed of my machine here, because these are sort of so small. This is I've got no reds basically, and 85 is pretty decent. But that's helped actually just not displaying certain things on a mobile, which again is a difficult conversation to have, but it depends on it. As I said, you rob one to gain on another. You rob a bit of user experience to gain on something else. And I know I had sort of excessive things showing there. You know, I've got a lot of these things showing. There might be a case to actually so I've got all these in one column. So what I'm going to suggest is you maybe actually separate these things. I should have maybe separated these things with columns. So if I was going to like whack another column in, remove that, and then I could probably drag this one up into this column. So basically I could show one, you know, and remove the others, or I could sort of optimize the display of these things. It's probably going to have a less of an effect. Just save that, I might come back to that. So yeah, in terms of the rest of the site, I'll just jump into another category. So say for example, and I'm going to pick something out that's a Magento, that's a landing page. That's a Magento thing. Let's just run a quick test on this one actually. So this is a different type of layout. I've got less images. The smaller the images, I know it looks like a bag of rags, but let's just do a quick test on this one just to compare something with. I'm saving specific images for mobile as well, which is really important. If you just do that thing where you size an image for both desktop and mobile, yeah, PageSpeed really kicks off about that. They are like 86, so it's nothing, is it really? That no difference really whatsoever. I'm zooming all let me just check that I am fully in production mode and all my caches are switched on, because I didn't check that before I went live. Yeah, all caches are on. Right, yeah. Okay, so that's all okay. Let me just run one more just on that page. It is saving again quite a lot of product content in sliders. And we saw that on the page speed one, that the products in the sliders, yeah, I'm in the 80s, so it's, there you go, yeah, styles M. So there's really not much else you can do. You know, to gain an extra half a second, you're gonna have to completely rebuild your styles CSS for the entire site, which I think's an absolutely excessive thing to do. But let's just have a quick look at a different type of page. That's probably unfair because that image is tiny. Let's have a look at a bigger image. Let's run a mobile one on an actual product page and have a look at some of the things we could probably do on this. See where we land. Did go back into production, didn't I? What's going on there? Yeah, I'm getting a problem with next gen images on my product page here, because you can see clearly that I am saving WebPs, look, but it's not having it. So we'll just leave that for a sec. I'm going to jump back onto actual page, product page. I'm going to run one on this. So it's a pain in the ass, isn't it, all this? Does your head in. Again, right, so calendar min, it's not a join from that, and you probably don't need that, so that's one that you could get rid of, calendar min on this page. Let me just check. I'm not convinced I'm in production mode here. I'm not convinced the store's built out correctly, because these scores are very low, very low indeed. Yeah, it looks like I am in production mode. It does. I'm gonna also, so I moved, one of the other things I did was I moved all JavaScript to the footer, thinking, see what that would do, which I didn't do before. So I might actually just go yarn developer and actually change that. Actually change that setting. And just let JavaScript load wherever it wants to load. Clearly, it either has a negative effect or it has no effect whatsoever. Yeah, I really think there is more Magento could do by default. It looks like there's a good plugin, or it looks like there's plugins available. Damn it, I left it in maintenance mode. By Amnesty, that are good for control. You know, extending the controls of what was it? Maintenance. Extending the controls of sort of static asset output and stuff, but it's like $250 plus you're on, like Amnesty do sort of like disable a different payment model now, so it's going to cost you. So the reason I'm doing this stream and the reason I'm doing these, he's trying to think of ways you can do it. Obviously it's your time, but without plugins, you know, for free. But yeah, that looks like one what would be, you know, if Amnesty were just charging you $250 for it, then you could probably get a lot of legs out of that. But let's just have a look here. Okay. Manage JavaScript files, bundling no, minify yes, move to the bottom no. So merge CSS, no, because clearly don't like it. Critical CSS is an absolute skip fire for page speed, so it's terrible. Static signing, all that's all okay. Right, let's bang this back in production. Shouldn't take long. We'll give it one more test, one more run through. Yeah, so just going back to this script here. Yeah, so obviously I'm removing that. Obviously on the catalog page you could also look for and remove calendar CSS, because I don't know where that'd be used nowadays. And there's probably others that are just sort of sat there that maybe aren't even coming up in PageSpeed scores, but are getting sort of loaded that you could actually get rid of. So it's one of them where you're gonna have to, and probably also if you've added any plugins and things like that. Some plugins are sort of written in a way where they're sort of their CSS. I know one of Amisty's plays up with Slick Slider, and because they have their own Slick Slider CSS, which sort of comes in above Magento's and sometimes above your, depending on your sort of nesting of your CSS, comes above your actual customizations of itself, and it just needs removing. So Amnesty does that a lot. There's other plugin developers module developers that do the same type of thing. So yeah, it's an ongoing battle. It really is an ongoing battle, but I'm obsessed with it. I want to get, and I have had mobile up in the 90s and I've had desktop on 100. So it is possible. I've seen it with my own eyes, even though I can't prove it to you today because for some reason these gods are not playing ball. You know what? I should have ran them all and left them in a tab, shouldn't I, before I went on the stream. You live and learn. Right then, let's have a look at. Has it gone through yet? Come on, it's just static deployment now. Just static deployment. Come on, this is well slow. While waiting for this, I'm getting viewers fluctuating up and down. I don't know how many's actually there at the minute. Any questions? Anything? What's the weather like? Anything? Oh, by the way, just so you know, if you're watching this and you didn't know, I released Knockout JS Crash Course. The last video came out just about an hour ago. Oh, there we go, it's in production mode now. Came out an hour ago. Give that a watch. It's a good one. Right, that seemed pretty. Looking at it, it's fast in it. I know there's only 3 products on a page, but I'm going to show you on a different page in a sec. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to run it on this page now. So I know there's only 3 products, but there is something that comes up with Magento's default implementation of things like them swatches and stuff on configurable products, which isn't great for page load. But when you've got simple products, it's not. It's been pretty quick. 88. So this is with let's have a look at sort of clothing. Men. This might be a landing page. No, there we go. Let's run it on a page with more stuff. This causes cumulative layout shift, by the way. So thanks Magento for that functionality, but if you want a fast page speed score, it's not going to like it. Yeah, I would say, and I'm not just sort of blowing smoky, you can add a couple of points onto these for the fact that I'm running it whilst I'm streaming, and I think my computer might be struggling. Giving it one more go. I mean, as I said, I think I'm being critical because anything up in the 80s for a mobile site, 70, yeah, it's the only way to explain the. There you go, total blocking time. So total blocking time. It's not that. DOM size. Yeah, it don't like the depth and the cumulative layout shift, even though it ain't coming up. It did come up before. Cumulative layout shift is low now, but it was coming up to say like it didn't like the way that these shifted down the other day. So watch out for that. If I just go to gear and bags, because they're simple products, and there's quite a few on this page, I'll just run one there. So yeah, you're getting. I mean, I'm getting there up in this sort of late 80s for most times, and also particularly for the home page, which is the one that's going to be tested. So these are all things to, there you go, 90 for that page. Like it's so up and down because of my machine. Get it. My advice then: get it on a server. Obviously, get it in production. But do all the things I've done here in terms of actual configuration. So we're looking at very least these settings here, which is minifying CSS but not merging it. Enable, always make sure that's just set to 0. That's just me being sort of overly cautious, because that destroys any sort of scores. Static sounds important. Minifying files, JavaScript. Merging files will clearly need it 0, so not to do for CSS like I mentioned. And merging JavaScript files seems to be okay. So if I was gonna, I'd get them run and get them running in your production environment. Obviously production mode, obviously make sure that all your caches are on and flushed and also enabled, and your page is cached before you run any tests, because that affects things. And just make sure that you've got other server sort of the basics done, like your gzipping through either Apache, htaccess or Nginx, and also your things like Varnish really helps. Really helps with those page speed scores. I think that's what I'm missing locally. But testing locally is a good thing. It gives you a good idea. It gives you a good idea of things that you can do as a developer. Yeah, in terms of that hack for removing CSS files, it's just for testing purposes. I was just curious about whether it had have an effect, and it sort of does. Obviously, it ticks one off. It ticks one off the list of things that you need to be concerned with. Yeah, it's asking me to minify things like validate. I think that's because of the newsletter in the footer, so that might be another thing to look at. And I wonder what happens if I just finally just I can't stop. I just can't stop with this. Unmerge JavaScript. I will stop. Just deploy it and then flush. Just deploy it and then flush. Let's get rid of that. See if it changes this. The thing is as well, when you're talking about PHP scores, it is all relative to the site as well. Like the site that, say for example, you're building a new site and you make some sort of promises to the client that it's going to be as fast as possible in Magento. Have a look at what they're doing now. You know, like if they're in the 40s and 50s now, then 79 is going to, on a mobile, is going to be brilliant. I mean, some sites don't even get that on a desktop. So, like I say, I am being overly critical in these videos. It has changed it now, so it's changed it, and it, you know, Require.js is coming up as a render blocking resource, but it isn't really shifting. Isn't really shifting anything, is it? So yeah, as I say, I got that one of 90. You can get, with a bit of faffing about, you can get 90 on a page built page. You have just got to be careful about what you're displaying on that page. Let me just double check actually in the content here. I am in fact saving mobile images. So that one's definitely been saved as a mobile image. Yeah, so you've got to fill that out. As I say, these are extra fields that I've added. You can see a tutorial for that on the channel, which it does help. And then if I just go through these, this is a massive image that I put in there on purpose. I wonder if I actually if I was to remove, so I am replacing it on a mobile and then specifying it, but obviously this resource is still coming out on the page, so let me just hide it for a second. Can I hide that, or just hide this image? Right, I'm going to hide that desktop and mobile just to see if we're moving these big images. Right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up now, and and I'll just run this real quick. So it's gone. See what we get. And hopefully it will prove my point of massive images are your enemy. Or it won't do knack all. But the point of this video is to explore these settings, to explore things. Render blocking resources, minifying JavaScript again. Okay, well, lessons learned, and we'll come back to this definitely. Thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks a lot. Obviously, if you're watching in retrospect, then I hope you enjoyed that as well. Smash a like on the video for us, subscribe, all would be great. Really helps the channel, and it'll help me create more content like this. So I will thank you very much again, and I will see you in the next one.